The soft glow of the artificial sun bathed the settlement in a pale, warm light, creating an illusion of dawn that no one could believe anymore. The earth was no longer the vibrant world of stories told in archives and songs. Most of its surface was barren, stripped of life by centuries of wars, greed, and negligence. Humanity clung to these last outposts of survival like leaves to a dying branch. Deep in the settlement, a small structure hummed softly with life. Inside, a woman sat motionless, her silver skin catching the dim light, her eyes closed as though she were suspended in thought. Her kind, the Telia, had been known for their brilliance, their ability to weave emotions and memories into breathtaking creations. But now there were no more Telia, only her. Isari opened her eyes, the faint glow of violet within them shimmering as she exhaled. For days she'd avoided facing the reality gnawing at her. She was the last of her kind, and the pain of her loneliness had grown unbearable. Her people had been vibrant, bound to one another in ways humans could never fully understand, their connections running deeper than blood. Now that connection was silent, gone. She stood, her long, lithe frame, moving with a grace that belied the turmoil within. The settlement's air was heavy, carrying with it the smells of machinery, recycled water, and humanity's desperation. Isari wrapped herself in a simple cloak, the fabric borrowed from her human hosts. It was rough against her skin, unlike the soft silks of her people, but it served its purpose. The streets were quiet this early, save for the hum of drones weaving through the air, their sensors scanning for anomalies. A few humans stirred in their homes, and Isari caught glimpses of them through windows and open doors. Families huddled together, children laughing as they played with makeshift toys. For a moment, envy twisted in her chest. They had each other. She had no one. Isari made her way to the central square, where the settlement's leaders gathered for their morning briefings. Her heart was a storm of fear and determination. This was her last chance, and she couldn't let it slip away. Samel was already there, his tall frame leaning against the edge of a rusted bench as he spoke with another council member. His dark hair was streaked with gray, his face lined with years of worry and leadership, but his presence exuded a calm strength. When he saw Isari approach, he straightened, his expression softening. "Isari," he greeted, his voice low and warm. "You're up early," she nodded, pulling her cloak tighter around herself. "I need to speak with the council. It's urgent." Samel exchanged a glance with the other council member, a younger man with sharp features and a skeptical air. "Of course," Samel said, gesturing toward the small meeting hall. "Let's go inside." The hall was dimly lit, its walls lined with maps and screens displaying data on the settlement's dwindling resources. The other council members filed in one by one, their expressions ranging from curious to wary as they took their seats. Isari stood in the center of the room, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Samel was the first to speak. "Isari has requested an audience with us. Please listen with open minds." She took a deep breath, willing her voice to remain steady. "I am the last of my kind," she began, her words deliberate. "The Telia are gone. I have searched the stars, sent out signals to every corner of the galaxy, but there is no one left. Just me." The room was silent, the weight of her words settling over them like a heavy blanket. She continued, her voice trembling slightly. "My people were once proud, full of life and creativity, but now all of that is lost. I cannot bear the thought of our essence fading into nothingness. I need your help to preserve what little remains of us." A middle-aged woman with a stern expression leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "What exactly are you asking for, Isari?" "I need a partner," she said, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment at the bluntness of her words. "Someone willing to help me create new life, a blending of our species, a chance for something new to grow from what has been lost." The council members exchanged uneasy glances, murmuring among themselves. Isari felt her stomach twist with anxiety. She had known this would be difficult, but the reality of their doubt was more painful than she'd anticipated. "Izari," another council member said, his tone cautious, "this is no small request. Have you considered the implications, the risks?" "I have," she replied firmly. "But what choice do I have? If I do nothing, my people will be forgotten. Isn't it worth taking a risk to save something so precious?" Samuel raised a hand, quieting the room. "This is a matter that deserves careful thought. Isari's plea is not without merit, but we must ensure that any decision we make is in the best interest of both her and our people." Isari's heart sank as the council began to debate, their voices blending into a low hum. She wanted to scream, to demand that they understand the urgency of her situation, but she knew that would only harm her cause. Instead, she waited, her hands clenched, so tightly that her nails dug into her palms. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Samuel turned to her. "Izari, we'll support your request. But this must be done with the utmost care. We will find someone who is willing and will ensure that every step of this process is approached with respect and understanding." Relief washed over her and tears filled her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. Volunteers came forward, some driven by curiosity, others by a genuine desire to help. Izari met with each of them, her heart heavy with the weight of their decision. She didn't want this to feel like an obligation or a transaction. She wanted it to mean something. When she met Kalen, a quiet man with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor, something shifted. He was different from the others, his approach thoughtful and genuine. He didn't see her as an alien or a burden, but as someone who was hurting, someone in need of compassion. "I can't imagine what you're going through," Kalen said one evening, as they sat together in the settlement's small garden. "But I want to help. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but because I believe in what you're trying to achieve." His words brought tears to her eyes, and she reached out, placing a hand over his. "Thank you, Kalen. You don't know how much this means to me." As they talked, a sense of connection began to grow between them, a fragile thread that felt both comforting and terrifying. For the first time in years, Isari felt a spark of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, she wasn't as alone as she'd thought. In the days following their decision, Isari and Kalen spent more time together. The settlement's garden became their sanctuary, a place where the noise and tension of the world outside faded. It was small and unremarkable by Earth's former standards, but to Isari, the patches of greenery felt like a miracle. She would run her fingers over the leaves of a sturdy plant, her touch reverent, and Kalen would watch her with quiet fascination. One evening, as the artificial sun dipped below the settlement's horizon, Izari spoke of her people's history. Her voice was soft, almost musical, as she described the vibrant world of Talarian, its sky filled with silver moons and crystalline trees that shimmered under their light. "Our bonds were everything," she said, her violet eyes glowing faintly as she lost herself in memory. "We didn't just live among one another, we felt each other's emotions, our joys, our sorrows. It was a connection so deep that it's hard to put into words. Being here, so isolated, it feels empty." Kalen shifted closer, his voice gentle. "It sounds beautiful, and it must make all of this, losing them, so much harder." She nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "It's like losing a part of myself every day. But meeting you, talking with you, it helps. I didn't think I could feel any connection again, but with you, it's different." Kalen hesitated, unsure how to respond to the intensity of her emotions. He wasn't a man who spoke easily about feelings, but Isari's vulnerability was disarming. "I'm glad," he finally said. "I don't know if I can ever understand what you've lost, but I'm here, for as long as you need." They sat in silence after that, the weight of their shared moment settling between them. Izari felt a warmth she hadn't known in years, a flicker of something she hadn't dared to name. Kalen, for his part, found himself drawn to her in ways he hadn't expected. She wasn't just an alien seeking help. She was someone extraordinary, carrying the weight of an entire species on her shoulders, yet still finding room for kindness and grace. The following weeks were filled with preparations. The council had arranged for medical examinations and consultations, ensuring that Isari and Kalen's efforts would be safe and viable. The process was meticulous, and though it was necessary, it weighed heavily on Isari. She hated being treated. Like a scientific subject, her body and biology dissected and analyzed. But Kalen was there, grounding her with his quiet strength. One afternoon, after another exhausting session with the settlement's medical team, Isari found herself sitting outside the clinic, her head in her hands. Kalen appeared moments later, carrying a steaming mug of herbal tea. "Here," he said, crouching beside her. "I thought you could use this." She accepted it gratefully, the warmth seeping into her palms. "Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'd manage," he said with a small smile. "You're stronger than you give yourself credit for." Isari met his gaze, her expression earnest. "I don't feel strong. Most days I feel like I'm barely holding on, but you make it easier." Kalen looked away, the sincerity in her words making his chest tighten. "I'm just doing what anyone decent would." "No," she said firmly. "You're doing more. You're giving me hope, Kalen, and that's something I thought I'd lost forever." He didn't know how to respond, so he simply sat beside her, their shoulders brushing as they watched the sky shift from pale orange to deep indigo. The stars began to emerge, their faint light a reminder of the vastness beyond their tiny settlement. As the days turned into weeks, Isari and Kalen's bond deepened. They shared stories of their lives, their fears, their dreams. Isari spoke of the songs her people used to sing, their melodies woven with emotions so powerful they could bring even the most stoic listener to tears. Kalen shared memories of Earth before its decline, of towering forests and endless oceans, of the laughter of his younger siblings who were long gone. One night, as they walked through the settlement, Isari paused, her gaze fixed on the stars above. "Do you ever wonder if there's still beauty out there, in the universe?" "Sometimes," Kalen admitted, "but I think it's rare. We've done so much damage to ourselves and to everything around us." She turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "I think beauty can survive even in the smallest places, even here." Her words hung in the air, and Kalen felt a swell of emotion he couldn't quite name. He reached out, hesitating for a moment before brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "You're right," he said softly. "There's beauty here." Isari's breath caught, her heart pounding as she searched his face. In that moment, the distance between them felt insignificant. She leaned closer, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope for something more than survival. The following day, they met with the council for a final discussion. The decision had been made, and the settlement's leaders were cautiously optimistic. The risks were significant, but the potential rewards, a chance to create something new, a fusion of two species, were worth pursuing. Samuel addressed them with a rare smile. "This is uncharted territory, but we believe in you both. Whatever happens, know that you have the full support of this community." Isari and Kalen exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They were about to embark on a journey that would test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine, but they were ready. Together. As they left the meeting, Kalen reached for Isari's hand, his fingers threading through hers. She looked at him, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. And something deeper. "We'll make it work," he said, his voice steady. "No matter what," she nodded, her heart full. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that her people's legacy wouldn't be lost. It wouldn't be easy, but with Kalen by her side, she knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The process that followed was both scientific and deeply personal. The medical team worked tirelessly to ensure compatibility, their equipment a blend of human ingenuity and remnants of Tellian technology. Izari and Kalen spent countless hours together, their connection growing stronger with each passing day. Their first attempt was met with uncertainty. The fusion of their DNA was a delicate process, and there were moments of doubt, moments when Isari's fears threatened to overwhelm her. But Kalen was always there, reminding her of her strength, her resilience. "You've survived so much," he told her one evening as they sat in the garden. "You've carried the weight of your entire species. You can handle this." "I'm not so sure," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if it doesn't work? What if it all falls apart? Then we'll try again." He said simply, "And again if we have to. We're not giving up, Isari. Not on this, and not on you." His words gave her the strength to keep going, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Together they navigated the complexities of their mission, their bond, a source of comfort and determination. Months later, as the settlement prepared for another artificial sunrise, Isari stood in the garden, her hand resting on her abdomen. A new life stirred within her, fragile yet full of promise. Kalen joined her, his arm slipping around her shoulders. As they gazed at the horizon, "We did it," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "We did," he agreed, his expression soft, "and this is just the beginning." As the first rays of light broke over the settlement, Isari felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Her people's legacy would live on, carried forward by a new generation born from the union of two worlds. It wasn't the future she had imagined, but it was a future filled with hope, a future worth fighting for. As the days passed, Isari and Kalen settled into their new reality. The knowledge that they had succeeded in creating a bridge between their species brought hope not just to them, but to the entire settlement. The news spread quickly, transforming Isari from a quiet outsider into a symbol of resilience and possibility. The humans, who had once viewed her with cautious curiosity, now greeted her with smiles and nods of encouragement. Isari, though grateful for the support, often felt overwhelmed by the attention. She found herself retreating to the garden more, often seeking solace among the greenery. Kalen always seemed to sense when she needed space and when she needed company, striking a balance that she deeply appreciated. One afternoon, as she knelt beside a cluster of blooming flowers, Kalen approached with a small package in his hands. "I thought you might like this," he said, his tone a mix of shyness and anticipation. She wiped her hands on her tunic and accepted the package, carefully unwrapping the fabric. Inside was a small, delicate carving of a tree, its branches intertwined in a way that reminded her of the crystalline forests of Tellurian. Her fingers brushed over the smooth surface, her eyes filling with tears. "Kalen, this is beautiful," she whispered. "Did you make this?" He shrugged, his cheeks tinged with color. "I've been working on it for a while. I thought, well, you've shared so much about your home, and I wanted you to have something to remind you of it, even if it's not the same." She clutched the carving to her chest, overcome by emotion. "It's perfect. Thank you." Kalen knelt beside her, his expression soft. "You don't have to thank me. You've given us all so much. This is the least I could do." They sat together in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Isari wanted to tell him how much his presence meant to her, how he had become her anchor in a world that still felt foreign and uncertain. But the words eluded her, caught in the tangle of her emotions. Instead, she reached for his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. The gesture spoke louder than any words, and Kalen responded with a gentle squeeze. As the months turned into seasons, Isari's pregnancy progressed, bringing with it a mix of excitement and apprehension. The medical team monitored her closely, their fascination with the unprecedented situation tempered by their genuine care for her well-being. Isari often joked with Kalen that she felt like a living science experiment, but deep down she trusted the team. Their dedication was unwavering, and they treated her with the respect and kindness she had feared she might never find. Kalen was her constant support, his steady presence a source of comfort during the more challenging moments. He accompanied her to every appointment, his protective instincts kicking in whenever the medical team discussed potential risks. Though he tried to hide it, Isari could see the worry etched into his features. "You don't have to be so serious all the time," she teased one evening as they sat in their shared quarters. "I'm not made of glass, you know." Kalen chuckled, his smile breaking through the tension that seemed to follow him. "I know, but I can't help it. This is all new, and I just want to make sure everything goes smoothly." She placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle. "It will. We'll face whatever comes together just like we always have." Her words seemed to ease his mind, and for the first time in days, Kalen allowed himself to relax. They spent the rest of the evening talking about the future, imagining what their child might be like. Would they inherit Isari's luminous eyes and silver hair, or would they take after Kalen with his warm smile and steady demeanor? The possibilities filled them with wonder, and for a while, the weight of their circumstances felt lighter. When the day finally came, the entire settlement held its breath. The delivery was a delicate process, requiring a blend of human and Tellian medical practices. Isari's strength and resilience shone through, and after hours of labor, the first cries of their child echoed through the room. Kalen stood by her side, his eyes wide with awe as he cradled the tiny, fragile being in his arms. The baby was unlike anything they had imagined, a perfect blend of their two species, with shimmering skin that seemed to catch the light and eyes that held the depth of galaxies. "She's beautiful," Kalen whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Isari reached for their child, her hands trembling as she held the tiny bundle against her chest. Tears streamed down her face as she gazed at her daughter, the embodiment of hope and love. "She is," Isari agreed, her voice barely audible. "She's everything." The room was filled with a quiet reverence as the medical team and council members looked on. For the first time in years, the settlement felt a sense of unity and purpose. This child represented more than just the survival of a species. She was a symbol of what humanity and the Tellians could achieve together. In the weeks that followed, Isari and Kalen adjusted to their new roles as parents. The challenges were many, but their love for their daughter made every sleepless night and every moment of uncertainty worthwhile. The settlement rallied around them, offering support and celebrating each milestone. Isari found herself thinking often of Tellarian, wondering what her ancestors would think if they could see her now. She liked to believe they would be proud, that they would see her daughter as a testament to the strength and resilience of their people. One evening, as the artificial sun set over the settlement, Isari sat in the garden with Kalen and their daughter. The baby cooed softly in her arms, her luminous eyes reflecting the soft glow of the fading light. "This is just the beginning," Isari said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "For her, for us, for all of them." Kalen nodded, his gaze fixed on their daughter. "We'll give her a future worth living for, and we'll make sure she knows where she comes from, both sides." They sat in silence, the weight of their journey behind them and the promise of a brighter future ahead. Together, they had built something extraordinary, a bridge between worlds, a beacon of hope in a universe that had often felt devoid of it. And as they watched the stars emerge, Isari felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. As the days turned into months, the settlement began to change, shaped by the quiet but undeniable influence of Isari and her daughter. The child, whom they named Alicia, a name that blended Tellian and human traditions, became the heart of the community. Her laughter rang through the corridors, her presence a living reminder of what could be accomplished when hope and trust triumphed over fear. Alicia was a curious and bright child, her hybrid nature evident in the way she absorbed both cultures with ease. She learned the melodic language of the Tellians from her mother, her small voice weaving through the soft tonal words like a song. From Kalen she inherited a sharp wit and a love of storytelling, often begging him for tales of Earth's past and the resilience of humanity. The settlement's initial hesitance toward Isari and her unique family had long since faded. Instead, a sense of unity blossomed. Humans and Tellians began working together more seamlessly, their shared purpose outweighing old biases. Isari was no longer the lone alien among them. She was a vital part of their collective future, her wisdom and strength inspiring even the most skeptical. One afternoon, as Isari walked through the garden with Alicia toddling beside her, a familiar face approached. It was Milan, one of the elders on the Human Council. His stern demeanor had softened over time, and he now regarded Isari with a respect that once seemed impossible. "Isari," he began, his voice tinged with both humility and purpose. "May I have a word?" She nodded, lifting Alicia into her arms. The child rested her head on her mother's shoulder, her glowing eyes studying Melon curiously. "I've been thinking a lot about the path we've taken to get here," Melon continued, "and about the role you and your family have played in shaping it. The Council believes it's time to take the next step, a true collaboration between our species. We want you to help lead this effort." Isari blinked, taken aback. "You want me to lead?" Melon nodded. "Your perspective is invaluable. You've shown us that survival isn't just about adapting, it's about connecting, about building something stronger together. You've lived that truth." Her gaze shifted to Alicia, who had dozed off in her arms, her small chest rising and falling in rhythm with Isari's breathing. The idea of leadership was daunting, but the thought of creating a future where Alicia could thrive, a future where her dual heritage was celebrated, rather than questioned, filled Isari with determination. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady. "But only if it's a true partnership. This isn't about one species leading another, it's about working together as equals." Melon smiled, a rare expression of warmth. "That's exactly what we had in mind." The following weeks were a whirlwind of planning and collaboration. Isari and Kalen worked alongside the Council to develop initiatives that integrated both human and Tellian knowledge. They established new educational programs, blending the sciences and philosophies of their respective cultures. The settlement's medical team began studying Alicia's unique physiology in greater depth, with Isari's consent, in the hopes of unlocking advancements that could benefit everyone. One of the most significant milestones was the creation of a cultural exchange program. Humans and Tellians alike volunteered to teach each other their languages, traditions, and histories. The program fostered a sense of mutual understanding and respect that had been lacking for so long. Isari often found herself at the center of these efforts, her voice carrying weight in every discussion. Though the responsibility was immense, she found solace in Kalen's unwavering support and Alicia's innocent joy. Together, they were building something far greater than themselves. Years passed, and the settlement grew into a thriving community, its foundation stronger than ever. Alicia, now a vibrant young girl, became a symbol of unity for both species. She moved through the settlement with a confidence that belied her age, her presence a constant reminder of what could be achieved through cooperation and love. One evening, as the three of them sat beneath the simulated stars of the settlement's dome, Alicia turned to her parents with a question that had been weighing on her mind. "Do you think the universe will ever be like this?" she asked, her luminous eyes wide with wonder. "Where everyone works together?" Kalen glanced at Isari, a soft smile playing on his lips. "It's hard to say, Alicia. The universe is vast, and not everyone is ready for change. But what we've built here shows that it's possible." Isari reached for her daughter's hand, her voice gentle but firm. "And you'll be a part of that change, Alicia. You have the strength of both your people in you. Never forget that." Alicia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I'll make you proud," she said, her tone filled with determination. "You already do," Kalen replied, pulling her into a warm embrace. "Sauce." They sat together, the stars above them twinkling in an eternal dance. Isari felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had faced countless challenges, but they had emerged stronger, united by a shared vision of hope and possibility. The future was uncertain, but Isari knew one thing for sure. They would face it together, as a family, as a community, as a beacon of what humanity and the Tellians could achieve when they chose to stand side by side. The years had been kind to Isari, Kalen, and their daughter Elysia. The settlement had transformed from a tenuous alliance into a flourishing community, its harmony symbolized by Elysia herself. As the first hybrid child born of human and Tellian heritage, she had become a living testament to the power of unity and hope, inspiring those around her to imagine a brighter future. By the time Elysia reached her early adulthood, she was already a leader in her own right. Her natural charisma and empathy bridged divides with ease, and her radiant personality drew people to her effortlessly. Her parents watched her with pride, marveling at how their love had created something so extraordinary, not just in Elysia, but in the bond that now existed between their peoples. The council chamber was bustling with energy one evening, as representatives from both humans and Tellians gathered for a historic meeting. Isari, now a revered elder figure, sat alongside Kalen and Elysia, who had taken an active role in shaping policy. The topic on the table was unprecedented, an initiative to venture beyond their settlement, seeking contact with other surviving groups scattered across the galaxy. "This isn't just about survival anymore," Elysia said, addressing the room with calm conviction. Her voice carried the gentle strength of someone who had spent her life bridging differences. "It's about thriving. It's about sharing what we've learned and finding others who may need help. Together, we've shown what's possible. It's time to take that message to the stars." There was a murmur of agreement among the representatives, though some voices raised concerns. "What if the others aren't as receptive?" one elder asked, her brow furrowed. "Not everyone will see unity as a strength." Elysia nodded, acknowledging the hesitation. "That's true, but we've already proven that trust can be built, even when it seems impossible. We don't approach this as conquerors or saviors, we approach as equals, willing to listen and learn." Isari leaned forward, her presence commanding, despite the silver streaks in her hair. "Elysia is right. Fear is natural, but we cannot let it define us. We've faced uncertainty before, and we've grown stronger for it. Now, we have a chance to extend that strength to others." Kalen placed a hand over Isari's, his touch a steadying force. "We've always said that Elysia represents hope. Let her lead us into this next chapter." The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of their words settling over everyone. Finally, Melon, who had become a steadfast ally over the years, stood and addressed the group. "Let it be known," he said, his voice firm, "that this council supports the exploration initiative. Let us move forward together." Preparations for the mission began in earnest. A small fleet of ships was outfitted with the latest advancements from both human and Tellian technology, their designs a seamless blend of form and function. Volunteers from both species stepped forward to join the expedition, eager to play a part in what could be a defining moment in their history. Isari and Kalen, though no longer at the forefront of leadership, worked tirelessly behind the scenes. They provided guidance and shared their wisdom, ensuring that the mission's foundation was rooted in the principles of cooperation and respect. Elysia, chosen to lead the expedition, spent her days immersed in planning and her nights in quiet reflection. Though confident in her abilities, she often sought solace in the garden where she had grown up, a place where her parents had taught her the values that now guided her actions. One evening, Isari found her there, seated beneath the glowing branches of a Tellian tree that had been carefully cultivated in the settlement's soil. The sight filled Isari with a bittersweet mix of pride and longing. Couldn't sleep? She asked, taking a seat beside her daughter. Alicia shook her head, her expression thoughtful. It's not that. I just wanted to feel connected. To you, to Dad, to everything we've built here. Isari reached out, brushing a strand of silver-streaked hair from Alicia's face. You carry us with you, no matter where you go. And you carry the hopes of everyone who believes in what we've built. Alicia leaned into her mother's touch, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I won't let you down. You could. Never let us down, Isari said, her voice firm. You're our legacy, Alicia. Whatever happens out there, remember that your heart and your intentions are what truly matter. The day of departure arrived with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The settlement gathered to bid farewell to the expedition, their cheers and well-wishes echoing through the air. Kaylin and Isari stood at the forefront, their hands clasped tightly as they watched their daughter prepare to step into the unknown. Alicia, clad in a sleek uniform that bore the insignia of Unity, a design inspired by both human and Tellian symbols, approached her parents one last time before boarding her ship. I'll come back, she promised, her voice steady despite the emotion that shimmered in her eyes. We know you will, Kaylin said, pulling her into a tight embrace. And when you do, you'll have stories to tell. Isari hugged her daughter next, holding her close as though to imprint the moment into her memory. Be safe, my star, she whispered, and shine brightly. With a final smile, Alicia stepped aboard the lead ship, her presence a beacon of hope for everyone watching. The fleet's engines roared to life, and as the ships ascended into the sky, Isari felt a swell of pride and love that eclipsed the ache of parting. Months turned into years, and though the settlement continued to thrive, the absence of the expedition was keenly felt. Messages from Alicia and her crew trickled in sporadically, each one filled with tales of wonder and discovery. They encountered scattered remnants of humanity and other species, some wary, others welcoming. Slowly but surely, they forged connections, planting the seeds of a larger alliance. For Isari and Kaylin, the updates were both a comfort and a reminder of the risks their daughter faced. They took solace in the knowledge that she was fulfilling her purpose, spreading the ideals they had worked so hard to instill. One evening, as Isari and Kaylin sat in their garden, a message arrived, a live transmission from Alicia. Her face appeared on the screen, radiant as ever, though the stars behind her hinted at the vastness of her journey. Mom, Dad, she began, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. We've found something incredible, a group of survivors who've created a thriving civilization. They've welcomed us with open arms, and they want to learn from us, just as we've learned from them. She paused, her eyes shimmering with excitement. This is only the beginning. The universe is so much bigger than we ever imagined, and there's so much more to explore. But I couldn't have done any of this without you. You gave me the courage to dream, to believe that unity is possible. Kaylin's voice was thick with emotion as he replied, We're proud of you, Alicia. Keep shining your light. Isari added, her heart full, and remember, no matter how far you go, you'll always have a home here. The transmission ended, leaving Isari and Kaylin with a profound sense of fulfillment. They had not only survived, but had laid the foundation for a future that transcended their own lives. As the stars twinkled above them, Isari leaned into Kaylin's embrace, her heart at peace. Together they had created something extraordinary, a legacy of hope, love, and unity that would echo across the stars for generations to come.